Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Molly McTurnan and I am the author of Poetic Surrender, which is a faith-based collection of poetry. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing what my top 10 favorite reads of 2024 were. So if that interests you, keep watching. So just to put out a disclaimer, in the first week of January, I will be publishing the blog post version of this video at my blog, mollymcturnan.com. So if you would like to go and find my Goodreads reviews for each book, make sure to check out mollymcturnan.com next week, or if you're watching this later on, just search top 10 favorite books of 2024 in my search and the post will come up. Okay, now we're going to get started on the list. These aren't in order from best to last, they're just in order more or less of when I read them in the year. So first on the list, we have The Eternity Gate by Katharine Briggs. This was a 5-star read for me. It is YA fantasy. It is published by Enclave Publishing, which is one of my favorite publishers, and I've actually had the joy and the honor to meet this author in person multiple times. So if you like YA fantasy, if you like adventure type stories, this is definitely a book I would recommend checking out. Book 2 on the list is actually a novella called The Boy Who Didn't Exist by Mariposa Aristeo. So this book is a novella, so it's pretty short. You can actually get it for free on the author's website, but it is a reimagining of H.G. Wells' story, The Invisible Man. So if you want to read a retelling of a classic that isn't very well known with sort of futuristic and steampunk vibes, this is the book for you. Next on the list is a poetry collection, and it is called After Prayers by Malcolm Guite. This was definitely a 5-star read for me as well. It is basically, there is a poem called Prayers. It's a sonnet, and Malcolm wrote a whole bunch of poems in response to this famous one. So if you want to read a unique poetry collection, all faith-based and full of some funny ones and some very serious ones, this is definitely the book for you. Next up, we actually have another book from Enclave Publishing, and this is The Unraveling of Emmeline Dulain by Lindsay A. Franklin. So this was a 4-star read for me. I really enjoyed it. It is YA fantasy, but there's some like portal fantasy, some jumping into classic stories like The Wizard of Oz, and all sorts of fun. So if that sounds up your alley, this is definitely a good book to try out. Next, we have one of my most memorable books from 2024, and I have recommended this to so many people, but that is A Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventures by Angela Bell. This book was so fun. It was historical, it was quirky, it was light and fun, and it had so many faith elements woven in. So yes, if you're looking for just like a more quiet story that still keeps you on the edge of your seat, with some historical aspects and funny family aspects, this is definitely one I'd recommend trying out. The next book on the list is Slip of a Girl by Patricia Riley Giff. So this book is actually a novel written in verse, which means that if you flip through, it almost looks like it's one giant poem. But I love reading books in that style. And this one is about the Irish land wars, which aren't super known about. So if you want to try a new style of book with kind of a part of history you might not know a lot about, this is a really fun read to try. Next on the list is Eye of the Storm by Corinne Heckler. Now, Corinne is a very good friend of mine, and when I heard that she was publishing a short story, I was so excited. And this is an allegorical fantasy short story, full of action and warmth and heart, and if that sounds like something you would like, you should definitely try out Eye of the Storm. Next on the list is Calculated by Nova McBee. This is sort of a dystopian-esque book with lots of like calculations. It's a math prodigy who gets kidnapped. So there's a lot of action. It's kind of a thriller vibe. So if that sounds like something you'd like, this is definitely a book I'd recommend trying out. And it's actually a whole trilogy and is being turned into a movie. So that is all very exciting. The next book on the list might surprise you, and that is because it is a picture book, but that is The Sower by Scott James. Now this book it tells the story of creation, but it has beautiful ink prints for all the pages, and there's not many words on each page, but I found those short words and those beautiful pages just to be breathtaking, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it was certainly mine. And so if you're looking for a more unique picture book, I definitely recommend you try this one. And last on the list is Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. This is a classic sci-fi, which is a genre I've been trying more of lately and have really been enjoying. There's very deep themes woven throughout, even with the aliens and space bugs and all of that. It's really not a silly story at all, but there's enough to capture your attention, and when it brings you in, you find deep themes you wouldn't think you would have found otherwise. So this was also a 5-star read for me, and that surprised me, but I very highly recommend it. So there you have it, my top 10 favorite books of 2024. And like I mentioned above, this whole video will be turned into a blog post on my blog, mollymcturnan.com, where I'll have lists to all my Goodreads reviews if you want to check those out for more like quotes and content warnings and general thoughts. But yeah, that is all for today's video. Let me know what some of your favorite books from 2024 were in the comments below, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.